The year is 2022, nearly 24 years after the release of the Game Boy Color back in the fall of 1998. 24 years later, gaming has come a long way, but we are still finding new and innovative ways to play our Game Boys. In the last year, the Game Boy Color has received two spectacular mods from a company called Funny Playing. A new backlight IPS display, dubbed the Retro Pixel 2.0 Laminated IPS Display, breathes new life into the Game Boy Color with a crisp and vibrant picture. Pairing perfectly with the new display is Funny Playing's Game Boy Color Button LED Kit, an innovative solution for illuminating your Game Boy Color's buttons. Today, we'll be taking an in-depth look at both of these mods. We'll go through the installation of both the display and the LED button kit, then follow with a review and overview of all the features and the functionality. My name is Darius, I am the Game Junkie, and welcome back to another episode of Retro Refresh. To perform these mods, we will need the following items: a Game Boy Color console, Funny Playing's IPS Ready shell, Funny Playing Button LED kit, Handheld Legend, clear buttons and membranes, and the Funny Playing Retro Pixel 2.0 Laminated IPS Display. Of the tools required for this mod, a soldering iron kit with solder and flux, screwdrivers, one Y1 and one Phillips 1 screwdriver, tweezers, Kapton tape, and, as always, isopropyl alcohol and Q-tips. With all our parts and tools in hands, we're ready to go. First, I'll free our Game Boy Color of the game cartridge and remove the batteries. With our tri-point screwdriver in hand, let's get to work on removing the main board from its plastic shell. There are a total of 6 tri-point screws fastening down the rear shell housing. 2 of these screws are located in the battery compartment. Lift off the rear shell from the front shell. Now, we've got access to the main board. The main board is secured with 3 Phillips head screws. All 3 screws are located on the bottom half of the board, near the battery terminals. At the top of the main board, we find the OEM or original display ribbon cable. Using your finger or tweezers to push up on the retention clips on each side of the connector, hold the ribbon cable in place while you gently pull the main board away from the shell. The main board is now free from the shell. This is the first component of our Ultimate Game Boy Color mod, the Funny Playing LED Button Kit. The LED Button Kit is a flexible PCB that solders directly onto corresponding contact points on the board. You can see here how these solder points line up. To make things easier, I put a piece of Kapton tape down temporarily to prevent the LED PCB from sliding out of place. I start with this number 7 and number 8 points first. Those points are meant to act as fastening points to hold the mod into place as we work on the rest of the PCB. There is a diagram on Funny Playing's website detailing each solder point and its purpose. I'll link that diagram in the description below. For every solder point, I apply a small amount of flux to the contact, using a Q-tip, and then I heat the pad with the soldering iron before applying the solder. With all the solder points installed, the LED button kit mod is complete. Before we proceed with installing the new display though, let's run a quick test on the mod. I loosely place the board into the back shell, load the batteries in, and flip the power switch. Fortunately, we're met with bright LED lights showing that the installation was a success. Now, to install the Retro Pixel 2.0 IPS display. The display arrived in this nice plastic cartridge case. Inside it is the IPS display, custom ribbon cable, extended touch ribbon cable, 2 long wires, and 1 short wire for soldering start, select, and power. Because we've already installed the LED button PCB, we can solder the 2 long wires directly from the start select points on the display's PCB to the start and select points on the button PCB. This is why the button PCB should be installed before the display is installed. First, I'll prepare the solder points with flux and tin them in preparation to connect the wires. With the reflective side of the ribbon cable facing up, we will insert the ribbon cable into the connector like so. Press down on the clamps on each side of the ribbon connector, then solder the short cable from the PWR power point on the display ribbon cable to the C terminal right next to the power switch. This is, I believe, the third one down. As mentioned earlier, the long wires will be soldered from the start select points on the display ribbon directly onto the LED Button Kit's PCB's start and select points. Before we complete the display installation, let's test the display to make sure it's free of defects so we can continue with putting the Game Boy Color back together. The display looks great, and the integrated touch sensor appears to be fully functional as well. Before putting the Game Boy Color together and sealing it up, make sure to clean up all the leftover flux from the solder points. Use some isopropyl alcohol and Q-tips to do so. I put a piece of Kapton tape down on the board to hold the long wires into place. Now, prepare to install the display in the custom front shell housing. Apply some pressure to all four sides of the display to secure it down. Now to install the clear buttons and membranes into the front shell. Unfortunately, the LED button kit from Funny Playing did not include these clear buttons and membranes, at least not the one I purchased from AliExpress, so these were purchased separately by me from Handheld Legend. To finish the display install, I line up the main board by laying it down opposite the front shell, then connecting the LCD panel to the display ribbon cable via pressing down the connectors. There's a 3M adhesive strip on the display ribbon to secure it down to the LCD panel. Then I flip the board into the shell and get ready to close up the Game Boy Color. Before I do though, I fasten down the touch ribbon to the shell. First with some double-sided adhesive, which didn't work too well. Then I decided to use some Kapton tape, which worked perfectly. Now, I put it all back together, completing the beautiful sandwich that makes the Game Boy Color complete. Flipping around to the back side of the Game Boy to apply the stickers and remove the protective film from the display. With both the display and button kit installed and the Game Boy Color buttoned up, let's look at the results. The display upgrade is honestly a game changer. I've had tons of fun simply going back to Game Boy Color games I haven't played in a while, specifically to see how they look on the new display. The natively high color saturation of the Game Boy Color's games produce bright and vivid colors. Sometimes the results are oversaturated, but on a game like Mario Golf, the results are amazing. The RetroPixel 2.0 IPS LCD display from Funny Playing is absolutely stunning display upgrade. The picture on the display is larger than the original and sharper too. Sharper thanks to its higher native resolution, which is 4 times that of the original, and using integer scaling to scale up the picture provides crisp results. This display is packed with some more amazing features, including adjustable brightness and display modes. We'll go over those in a moment. Really though, the feature that makes this LCD display stand out from the rest of the pack is that it is laminated to the glass screen lens. The picture on the laminated display views like it has been painted directly onto the Game Boy screen. The viewing angles of the display are just as impressive. No matter the angle you're viewing, the display is visible with little to no distortion. Laminated displays eliminate the air gap between the display and the screen lens. Those air gaps can accumulate dust over time, and they allow added glare. The Funny Playing LED Button Kit is a perfect partner to the RetroPixel 2.0 display. The RGB color adjustment is very granular, allowing me to find nearly any conceivable color I can think of. Also built into the kit is the support for different modes. There are 4 different modes in total that we'll go over in a moment. It's a great kit with great features and not much in the way of downsides. The only downside being the feel of the D-pad and buttons being slightly altered. It's hard to put it into words, but side by side with the completely stock Game Boy Color, I can feel the difference. The RetroPixel display has adjustable brightness, 5 different display effects, and the ability to adjust vertical and horizontal positioning. Let's take a look at the different modes of both the display and the button kit and how to use them. There are 7 levels of brightness which we can cycle through with a short press on the top touch sensor. A long press on the touch sensor will cycle through the built-in display effects. The first mode and the system default is what they call full pixel copy, which uses the integer scaling to produce a fantastic image free of scan or grid lines. Second mode is the classic Game Boy Color mode. Third mode is the classic RGB mode. The fourth mode is the RGB display mode. Fifth mode is the gridline display mode, which is probably my second favorite one, although I'm not sure. I do enjoy playing around with all of them. But of course my favorite is the default mode because it showcases the huge improvement offered by the new display with no artificial scan lines. But I do really appreciate the fact that they're there. That's not all though. Holding the start and select buttons for a few seconds lights up the word game. A short press on the touch sensor will switch it to the boy and another to the word color. Each of these is a submenu of their own. When game is highlighted, the submenu allows for adjustment for vertical positioning. Press start to adjust upwards and select to adjust downwards. The boy submenu allows adjustment for horizontal positioning. Start to adjust right and select to adjust left. And then the color submenu is perhaps the most exciting. This is where we can use the start and select buttons to change the colors of the RGB LED logo, pressing either key to cycle back and forth through the color options and even allow you to turn off the illuminated logo altogether. The LED button kit is just as simple to use. First, the modes, which can be cycled through by pressing and holding down the A and B buttons simultaneously until switched. There is adjustable RGB color mode, RGB breathing mode, which slowly cycles through all available colors, white LED mode, which is really more of a blue, not actually a white, and lastly, just to turn the colors off. When in the adjustable RGB color mode, we can adjust the selected color by holding down the select button and then using a long press on the A and B button to cycle forward and backward. Brightness is also adjustable using the same combination, but in brightness adjust mode. To enter brightness adjust mode, press select A and B simultaneously. Hold them down for a second, then you'll be able to hold select and use a long press on A to increase or B to decrease the brightness. My final thoughts. We've transformed this 1998 Game Boy Color into a modern handheld with a beautiful display and unlimited customization with the RGB LED options. For me, these mods have been game-changing. I have been revisiting many of my favorite Game Boy and Game Boy Color games lately. It's amazing to see them in this new light. Nothing really beats the experience of playing on the original hardware. For just over $100, I think $105 with tax and shipping, and a bit of time, you can experience this magic too. Thank you for tuning into another Retro Refresh. Looking for more? Check out this drop-in GBA display, or watch as I replace this non-laminated display on this water damaged switch light. Thank you, see you in the next one.